All right. So if you are just joining us, this is our second live series on applying for Chevening applications for 2023. What we want to focus on tonight is how to detail your employment history and how to get the general overview of how the application process works, right? And tonight I have a very special person on the call who happens to be a very good friend of mine. So I'm just going to introduce her quickly. Her name is Tolulope Amy Williams. She's going to do all of the introductions herself, but for the most part, she's a performance artist. She's also a Chevening scholar, and she's studying in Manchester. There's an amazing metropolitan school in Manchester that she's studying at. And the reason she's on this call tonight is she wants to help debunk a particular myth about working and how some persons do not think that if you have HND, you can get to do your master's. She's a living testimony to that particular effect. So I would like her to share a story tonight and allow you to hear directly from the horse's mouth how she did it, right? So if you're here and you're following, please, I would like to see comments in the chat box. Confirm that you can hear me loud and clear before I introduce or bring up Amy Williams. So waiting for reactions in the comment section. Okay. What about the rest of us? All right. Okay. So Tolulope is a twin. My sister's name is Temi. If I don't say anything else, I'm going to have to say that part. Hi, Tolu. Do you want to say hi to the people?
Hi, guys. Good evening. How's everyone doing?
I think I speak for everyone when I say they're doing good.
That's great.
Okay. So let's get down to business. I would like you to share your story. How did you do it? How did you use HND to apply for a master's in Chevening and then you got it? What exactly was the trick?
That's a tricky question when you ask me what the trick was. There's no trick. Let me start from there. I don't know if anybody on this call is religious, but I just think that this was a miracle. I think God decided that let me just give it to her because she's been trying for so long. Yeah. It's my first Chevening application, so it's not like I've been trying Chevening over and over again. It's just I had been trying to get a master's degree for quite some time. So yeah, I finished with a Higher National Diploma from Yaba College of Technology. I studied fine arts for my first degree, and I worked. I worked from that point up until this point. I'm still working. So yeah, I had worked in the art space, like doing arts education, and which is like in simple English, like really impactful work using art as a
Do you want to
skill.
show us some of your work so that we can understand what you mean?
Right now I can't do that, but if you check my Instagram, you will see a bunch of stuff related to performance arts and arts education. So I'm a multidisciplinary artist, which is how I like to introduce myself because I do so much more than just performing. Performing is like performance arts is one aspect of my career, which I'm trying to develop right now in the course of doing this master's degree. But I'm also an arts educator, which is where my work experience came from. And like my work in arts education was really how I was able to prove to Chevening that I deserve this, I think. So yeah, in the 5 years of working in arts education, I think I was unconsciously developing my portfolio and creating like some sort of consideration to complement my qualifications. So if you have HND and you're sending all these applications, especially if you're doing a practical course or like something in the creative space like mine. You need to prove that like you know what you're doing, right? You need to prove your work experience. You need to prove that you've been working in this space for an extended period of time, maybe not up to 5 years, even if it's 2 or 3 years. Like you just need to prove your presence in that industry. And if you have a portfolio that can show that, then you just might be as fortunate as I was, and schools will consider your work experience to make up for your qualification, which is how I got here. Because before then, I had written several applications and I've been turned down. I've chopped breakfast like multiple times. You guys have no idea. I was counting, and I think at the 8th one, yeah, this will have been the 9th one. See, even this school rejected me. Like they said, oh, your qualification.
Your rejections were from school admissions. It wasn't from scholarship applications. Okay,
School
great.
admissions, and like one was from a scholarship application. That was Erasmus, but like those people don't mind them. Anyway, but yeah, most of them were from school applications. And it wasn't because I wasn't good or I didn't know my onions. It was because of my qualification. And ideally, you see that thing that they write on their websites, oh, we will consider your work experience to make up for your qualification, just in case. Not all of them actually do that. So you need to be mindful which schools you're applying to so that you don't set yourself up for more breakfast. Yeah. So I'm at Manchester Metropolitan University right now. And initially, they sent me breakfast as well. So I had applied and they sent me an email. The course leader already sent me an email trying to schedule an interview. But then admissions sent me another email a day before my Chevening interview that I had been rejected. And I was literally going to present this school at the interview. Yeah. So I was very confused. But at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. And I think the devil is just trying to shake my table right now. And you know what? God, just handle it. I'm going to prepare for this interview. I cannot deal with this right now. So I didn't let it bother me. And I just went for the interview. And then the course leader was emailing me and saying, oh, I found that admissions sent you this. I've seen your portfolio. I think you have so much work and like you have such an extensive practice. I'm trying to talk to them to see if they can consider your qualification, which is what you would expect every other school to do. But that's what they were trying to do. And at the end of the day, was successful because here I am. So yeah, Chevening doesn't really mind if you have HND. The important thing is getting a university to give you admission. I think I'll stop there for now. And yeah, if you have any questions, just throw it at me.
So I want to take a pause and I want to reintroduce Tolu again.
Oh, come on.
Some folks just joined us, right? Folks, if you're listening, if you're watching this after this particular event, Tolu Lokwe Amy Williams is
Amy actually.
Amy Williams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Tolu Lokwe Amy Williams is studying performance arts. All right. She's doing that with an HND, but she has a bunch of work experience and some track record that she could show. And it's her first Chevening application, right? With several rejections from different schools, right? So it goes to show you that there is no one rule to this entire thing, which means you should pay attention to your employment history, right? What you have done so far, how you have done it, how you tell what you've done, right? This is not about being braggadocious or saying what you have not done. What we'll be showing you tonight is how to take a simple track record of all the things you've been doing, from paid internships, from volunteer roles, from maybe 1 year NYSC, how you calculate the particular hours of all the work you've done since the time you graduated. That's our focus for tonight. So just a quick comment if you're just joining us and you're following and you understand all that we're saying in the chat box. You can hear and you're following, respond in the chat box. Okay. I see you, Patience. I see you, Lillian. I see you, Aminat. Great. Great. All right. Which brings me to the next question before we move into the demo session, because Tolu has other calls that she needs to go for. How did you capture your employment history? How did you describe it in your resume, in your school applications? How did you calculate your hours? Right. Do you want to tell us? And what is your employment history like? How many years of work experience? What have you done, etc.?
Hmm. Wow. I haven't really thought about this, but off the top of my head, what I can remember really is I did work for one organization for 5 years.
Hmm.
But in the 5 years that I worked for that one organization, somebody said, wow, it was in different capacities, right? So when I started working there, I wasn't um I wasn't I wasn't like a key like team player or whatever. I went from being an artist assistant to being a workshop facilitator to being a team lead to being a director of programs in Lagos State, right? So it was different steps and then it was different roles, but still within the same organization. And even like in the midst of all of that, so I was able to capture that in my CV. So it was the same company, but you have to show that within this company you have had like you've worn different hats and you've played different roles. And in my essay, obviously, like most of the examples I had were from my work experience with this NGO. And one of the things I did with them, which was not really, I mean, it was arts education, but it was like an aside thing. It was like, yeah, oh, let's throw a party. Okay, but why should we throw a party? And then we started to weave a narrative around it. And that's when performance art, I was able to use performance art to like create a narrative around this event. And that was the example I used for my essay, right? So we did this event, and this event led them to establishing like a new a foundation under the NGO. I worked for an NGO, so the NGO decided, okay, we're going to start a foundation because of how that event turned out. So it was still arts education. It was just a different medium of art because in the past we had mostly just done paintings, we had done visual art skills, but this event allowed us begin to think about how we can include performing arts skills, performance art skills. They're very different things, by the way. Performing art and performance art are not the same, just for the record. So yeah, we started to think of how we could include these mediums as part of the art skills that we use to, you know, create impact. And that's how I was able to put it together in such a way that my examples can match what I'm saying I want to do and also doesn't stray away from my work experience. Because if there's no connection between all of it, like I feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot, really. Yeah, I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Okay, thank you so much. So she's saying connect your experiences, right? Be able to tell a direct narrative. Let there be like an overrunning theme throughout all your essays. This is the reason we are doing all of these activities. We cannot just jump into, oh, write a leadership essay, explain what leadership means, and then say blah, blah, blah. No, no. You have to first understand the holistic big picture, the full picture of what you are talking about from your work experience, your history, what you've achieved, how you've grown, and what that impact is going to be when you study a master's funded by Chevening and how that's going to impact Nigeria, right? And before we move forward, I'm going to launch a poll, right? You're going to see on your screen a quick poll, right? And please respond once you see the poll, okay? So the poll is going to be up for 2 minutes, and then we'll have Amy answer any other specific questions before we move into the practical session.
Ami, Ami.
Amy,
Just call me Tolu. Tolu's fine.
that's for me. I hope after today you will forgive me for murdering your name.
I'll think about it.
Okay. Let's keep the answers coming. just in case you have friends who are also applying for this, you could send them the link, they could join in. I mean, this is free and is valuable. Okay. I think we could move in the next 1 minute. You have 1 minute to respond before I take off the poll. So Tolu will be jumping off the call in the next 12 minutes, probably. And so to that end, I will be relaunching another poll, right? I can see here from this initial poll that most of you have started your Chevening application. Most of you have a breakdown of your employment history, which is a brilliant thing, okay? We want to turn that into a resource for your essay or your essay and your career plan. That's one of the things we want to do tonight before we move next week into entering into essays and reviewing essays this week, right? If you're just joining, you're welcome. All right, I'll be ending the poll now. If you've not taken the poll and you're just joining, you can take the poll. There are just 2 questions. 8 seconds more for the poll to disappear. Okay, that's the end of the poll for tonight. All right. Now, is there anyone who has a particular question for Tolu relating to employment history, relating to careers, talking about volunteer? Maybe you just have 1 year work experience beside your NYC. Do you have any of those questions? Or maybe what you have been doing is not connected to what you want to study, right? If you have any questions, please raise your hand and use the raise hand button and I'll call on you. I see Patience. Patience, please, you have the floor. You can unmute your mic and speak.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Martins. Good evening, Tolulope. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. So, my question is regarding employment history. So, I've been working in the technology space. I'm a software developer, but recently I just transitioned into like the entrepreneurship side of tech. So I'm all into startups and all of that. So that's what I want to study for my MSc, but I don't have enough experience for entrepreneurship. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, so I've just been a year doing startup, but most of my experience is in software development. So how do I tie that into Chevening, into application and all of that? That's my question.
Okay. Sounds like a problem that I can relate to. Can I ask you a question if that's okay?
Yes, please.
When you were working in software development, what made you switch to the entrepreneurship side of it?
Okay, so I saw a problem that I wanted to solve.
Don't worry, don't finish. That is your answer.
Okay.
So your work experience that goes into your CV is one thing. How you are able to connect what you want to go and study to your work experience is another thing. So in your essay, your approach or your angle will be, I worked in this field, and during my time there, I was exposed to XYZ, which showed me that there was a problem in XYZ. And for that reason, I decided to do this instead, to address this problem. That already shows that you are a forward-thinking person, right? And you're a problem solver. A challenge in like what you experienced is what pushed you to where you are at now. So for me, I think that that's your angle. I don't know for Martins. I think that when you're explaining that, you can still look for more concrete ways, even if it's one example, one thing that allowed you merge what you did in software development with like being. Do you use that your experience in software development for anything in your entrepreneurship space. If you do, find a way to create an example around that or choose an example around that, so that when you're explaining that you switched because you're trying to solve a problem, you have an example to prove that you did use this tool or this experience that you had for something that was beneficial to the other side that you're now trying to move to. It doesn't have to be huge numbers like, oh, I threw an event and 1,000 people came. None of that like massive stuff. Even if it was that you influenced some sort of decision that went on in your organization, you can think about it that way. Or if you were able to teach somebody else what you knew, or you gave a software development training to your new staff as an entrepreneur. I don't know, I don't know what you guys do in tech, because I'm not a tech person, so I might be citing some really crappy examples. But you can just find ways to connect where you are coming from with where you're going, or like where you're at. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
All right. So we will take another question from Aminat. Aminat, you can unmute your mic and respond or ask your question.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Tolu. Thank you so much for doing this for us. Okay, so my question is weird. Let me say that. So I've worked in 3 sectors. I've worked with an NGO, and then I've worked with a telecommunications company, and currently I'm working in the hospital. So, and I don't know how to, these are my work experiences, so I don't know how to merge them together. I don't know if I should take off the telecommunication and stick to the NGO and the hospital, so it rhymes with what I want to study in my MSc. So that's my question.
Okay. What do you want to study in your MSc?
Public health for development.
Public health for development. I can already like immediately see the connection between the health space and the NGO. When you were in telecommunications, what did you do?
I worked as front desk.
Front desk.
Yes.
Like in that moment, did you have any interactions with like people, clients, customers, all of that kind of stuff?
Yes.
What was that experience like?
I was more like managing their complaints.
Okay.
Yes.
What happens in public health exactly?
We developed for intervention.
You develop what now?
Programs for intervention.
You develop programs for intervention. Okay. Now, I don't know, but I like to paint pictures in my mind. Again, I'm an artist. Was there ever like any point when maybe a customer during your work experience at telecommunications, was there ever any point where somebody said something or made a complaint, that triggered something in you and made you think about like the health space? Or like how you could solve that problem with public health and everything you're doing in your work at the NGO? The answer can be no.
Yes.
No? Okay. Well, if there are no ties and there's no connection, I think that what that job really did for you was just expose you to more human interactions, which is fine since you want to go into public health. So you're going to be around a lot of people and you're going to be trying to help a lot of people. So if I had to look for an angle, I would say you have had, you have worked in telecommunications where you had access to lots of people. But if it's not strong enough, I would just say leave it. If you're able to pull your examples out of your time at the NGO and your work in public health, like you have to let it connect to what you are going to study. It's very essential. Like me, I danced at carnivals. I costumed stage plays and music videos, and what else did I do? Like I've done all sorts of things that don't necessarily contribute to my application, and so you have to be very intentional about the examples that you give, because you can list all this work experience in your CV. Your work experience, your CV is one thing, but when it comes down to your essay, I think it's very essential that you cite examples from work experiences that connect to what you want to go and study. If there's
Okay, I just have one last question. So when I'm listing my work experience under Chevening, do I have to take off my telecommunication experience? And if I take it off, what about the gap?
So, wow, that's a tough one. It's okay. It's okay. They have, I believe there's a, how do you say it? There's a total amount of hours you should have, like
Yes.
minimum, I think.
Yeah, that's where we're going now after all of this.
So if you do the math and maybe your most recent work experience and maybe some other one that came like after it, if you can meet the minimum hours, maybe you can leave off the telecommunication one. But if you can't, then maybe you can include it. I don't think it I don't know, honestly, but I don't think it matters. I think it just shows that you've been actively working. If you include all your yeah, really just look at the hours and which one brings you closer to the figure that Chevening is after. Because same thing I did. I didn't list my entire work experience. I didn't. There's some of them that are not necessary to like towards what I'm trying to do. I really did weird stuff, you know. So if it's not necessary, then just leave it out. If your most recent work experience meets the hours that you need to prove to Chevening that you've been working, that's fine. I think I literally met their requirements. I think it was like 2.5 years or 2 years. I can't remember the hours, but I ticked that box. It was in my essays I was mentioning where I had worked here for 5 years and yeah, did that. For your CV, just tick essential boxes. That's just what I'll say. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. So I'm going to say thank you to Lou. Just in case you have to jump off the call while I demonstrate.
I'm gonna get out now.
Okay, great. All right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Lou, for joining.
Thank you, Martin, for having me. Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm on your group chat if you ever have any questions. Bye, guys.
Fantastic. Okay. All right, everyone. Confirm that you followed up to this point while I launch the second poll, right? And we proceed. Confirm in the chat box that you followed up to this point. Okay. The second poll is up and we're about to start the demo session. Please respond to the questions on your screen in the next 2 minutes. The poll is going down in 2 minutes. Going down in 2 minutes. Okay, 1 minute. Okay. There are no right or wrong answers, guys. We just want to get a feel. Okay. Okay. All right. So we are going to stop the poll now so that we can proceed. All right. I will be sharing my screen with you guys. I hope that you all are following. Sorry, there's a noise in the background. I hope you all are following. Okay. Can we see my screen?
Yes.
Can we hear me clearly?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Right. So I'm going to do a demo session for how you're going to run through your application. All right. But first, we are going to tackle the employment history. All right. in a new Google Sheet. Why Google Sheet? I love Google Sheets. All right. So let me be sure that you are all following, right? Because I am going to assume that this is you, all right, answering your key questions, all right? Answering your own key questions and looking for a way to track your employment history, all right? So first things first, I'm going to write here, employment type. Right, I'm going to write role. I'm going to write achievements. Then duration. Okay. So I'm just going to write these basic things. It's not that deep. All right. So now that we have this, I'm going to go to the Chevening website so we can try to visit it. Let me start again. So you all should be familiar with these websites by now. I'm going straight to apply. So let's just wait. I think the network's a bit slow. We're looking for awards in Nigeria. Network is quite slow right now. Let me see. Websites. Okay. So this is the reason you don't want to allow your application to get into the first week of November, because the website starts to get busy. All right. So this is where we want to focus tonight, work experience. Work experience. So whether it's paid internship or unpaid internship. So unpaid internship or paid internship falls under the category of your National Youth Service Corps. So that is already 1 year experience for you, right? So the work experience can be something you did during your undergraduate study, including your practicum, teaching practice, etc. Right? Are you guys listening? Hello? So work experience can be completed before, during, or after graduating from your undergraduate study. Before, during. So take note of each of these things. However, any mandatory employment that counted towards your undergraduate or postgraduate course would not be eligible. For example, they say with this particular clause, they're saying if this is something you were doing as a result of getting your degree, like teaching practice, it would not be applicable, right? Because that one is counting toward your, but there's always a way to tell these stories. All right. For example, after you graduated, you had to do IT, or after you finished, you had to do housemanship, or after you finished, you had to do all of that. You know all the kind of work experience that you can pull through in that particular regard. So how to calculate your work experience? This is the next thing that's quite important. For this calculation, a working week comprises of 35 to 60 hours, and a working year comprises 40 to 50 weeks. Anything that exceeds the upper limit for full-time employment will be deemed ineligible. Actually, the problem with Chevening applications is that most people, their experience or their applications are deemed ineligible when it comes to counting their work experience, based on how they count their work experience, based on how they write out their work experience. Okay, so for Chevening scholarship, 2 years work experience is equal to 2,800 hours. All right, 2,800 that's what it is rated at. So now we want to do this, guys. Just to confirm that you can still hear me in the chat box. Please respond in the chat box if you can still hear me. Okay. All right. So I'm logging in. Now I want to create an account as if I want to apply, but I want to focus on the work experience session of this application. That's my name, that's my surname, blah, blah, blah. So I skip all of that. So this is my address, Abuja, blah, blah, blah. My date of birth, yeah, 2000, April 28th. That's not my date of birth anyway. It's just for this particular stuff. Yeah, 2000, April 28th. All right. And then my country of citizenship, Nigeria. I don't hold dual citizenship. I have just one. My country of birth, I was born in Nigeria. All right. I was born in Edo State. I was born in Edo State. All right. Are we following? So then I click on save. Once I click on save, I'm saving that straight up. So it says I'm 23. So there's already an automatic calculator on the platform, as you could see, that it would automatically calculate. So once I click on validate, I will not be able to change any of these things. Right. Let me see if Rita is on this call. Okay, Rita has joined. Hi, Rita. Welcome. We have just finished the first part. We just want to do a quick demo, right? And then we'll be taking some questions in the next 10 minutes. All right. So I want to apply. So I click on available open awards. I want to apply for Nigeria Chevening applications. Yeah, this is, will you return to the country? Yes. Do I have an undergraduate degree? 2-1, yes. Do I have a minimum of 2 years work experience? Yes. Yes, I'm more than 18. Yes, everything is yes. So I click yes, yes, yes. It says I'm eligible. Yes, I'm not a British citizen. No, I've not. I've not. I don't have any relatives by any of those organizations. So I save. Submit pre-screen. I just want to get to the work experience part. Yeah, this is why I took you through all of this process. So I want to get to the work experience part, which is where we are right now. So I want to detail my work experience, and I'm going to give you a very hypothetical example of some of the things that I have done, and we're going to calculate them, right? So that you can see how you're going to impute yours, right? So remember, it's usually good that before I come here to start to fill in anything, I have actually planned exactly what roles I'm going to put in. I've actually planned exactly what responsibilities or what achievements I'm going to detail in this application. So now we are going to go back to that sheet and we're going to plan in that sheet that's untitled. Where is the sheet? Okay. I think we have a sheet here. Great. So employment type. So I had a role one time. Let's say my first role after school was an internship. So let me say epidemiologist intern, right? In the State Ministry of Health, right? This, I just put it here. This was my NYC role, right? What did I achieve in this time? What was this employment type? It was paid because they were paying me alawi that time, right? Then the achievements. This is where I want to now ask myself what exactly I was able to do in that time. And the keywords I'm going to focus on, for example, I will start with the keyword led, right? I will say I led the facilitation of digital surveillance workshops. Of course, I did, right? In partnership with UNICEF, Gavi, and SOML. This is just tentative, saving 1 million lives. Right. The trained about 300 healthcare workers in Ogun State, Nigeria. The use of ODK platforms for monitoring and reporting in Ogun State, Nigeria. So that's basically it. So I'm just summarizing that. That's a key experience I want to put there because it's in line with what I want to study, public health for development. How long did I do that for? I did that for 1 year. I did that from June. Let's say I did that from June 2015, right, to July 2016. All right, I can put another thing that I did there. Afterwards, I was, okay, I worked in design. Let's say I did, okay, let me do something that is quite general. Let me say I did project management. I was a project manager for CC Hub, right? Rwanda, right? For 3 years. And in this role, what did I do? Okay, I supported MIT GovLab, right? Meta, Google, Microsoft. To improve the technological ecosystem in Africa. All right. Wait, what? $3 million startup support fund. Right. So you see here, I didn't take the lead. Here I supported, right? I supported. Then I designed the COVID-19 PMS that is being used in Ekiti states, or in Ondo, Ekiti, pardon the English, Ondo, Ekiti, and Lagos states to improve the testing and reporting of COVID-19 results. Right. I launched the Africa Digital Epidemiology Innovations Network and built the strategic framework and build the strategic framework tracking real-time case definitions in partnership with NIMA Lagos, National Institute of Medical Research, Lagos. So baseline is, these are all examples, yeah? These are all examples, and this happened from 2017 to 2019, right? June. Now, this is already more than 2 years. So if I had other key experiences, I would put them here as long as I can tell what I achieved. As long as I can tell what I achieved with keywords like developed, right? Like developed, deployed, managed, led, supported, reported, right? And key timelines. As long as I can have all of these things properly detailed, I can now select which of the experiences I would put. So if I had more than 7 experiences, and most of them are not in line with what I want to do, I would pick the top 3, all right, that are in line with what I want to do, as long as it can be 3 years or 2 years or whatever. So it doesn't have to be that I'm going to put all my employment history right on that platform. So now we're going to take just 2 of these and put them there on the platform. Okay, so employer organization, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. What was my position here? Design consultant. Right. So when did I work? So let's say I worked from October 2019. I worked from October 2019. They sent me each week I was working 8 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 5 is basically 8 hours. Right, 8 hours times 5, that's 40 hours. I worked 40 hours per week. Right, it automatically calculate the hours. This employment was full-time employment. So you see, it says, please provide a brief summary of your responsibilities here. So this is where I put those keywords that I put here. So I can take 2 out of this. Let me just put this 2, or I can just put 1 of that. Let me put 1 here. All right. Please confirm that you're following with comments in the chat box. Confirm that you're following, comment in the chat box, guys. Okay. So this is public sector. Immediately I try to save this, right? Then I close this. I want to see add more work experience. So I can keep adding more work experience until I get up until 2,800 hours. For someone like me, my work experience was more than 4,000 hours because it's been a long time, all right, that I've been working. So we want to pay attention to these things. But what I want you to focus on tonight is the Excel sheet, right? You want to make sure that you are tracking your history properly. You want to make sure that you're tracking your employment history. So we're going to go back to that Excel sheet, right? And we're going to demonstrate. We're going to pick a volunteer for the next 3 minutes. We're going to try to see how we can put keywords for your employment type, the role and the achievements that you have, because these are the things you are going to put in your essays. This is where you are also, when you do this exercise now, it's going to serve as a key resource for not just filling the form, both for your resume and for your essays when it comes to a career plan, which is the last thing I want to answer right now. Okay, so it's going to be the volunteer, please. You can raise your hand and I'll call you. Who wants to volunteer his or herself? Sosa. Hi, Sosa, you can unmute your mic.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. So let's start with how many years of work experience do you have?
That would be from 2019 to now. That's
Okay, great.
2021, 2023. I think that's 4. Though there were breaks in between. It wasn't like
that's fine. That's fine. So let's talk about the roles that you've carried out since 2019 to now. So let's tell me about the roles. Just tell me the names of the roles.
Okay, the first one was customer service representative at Omojo Claims.
Okay. Let me just say Joe Cleans. It might not be correct. Next role.
The next role was web content writer at Digital Ray Limited.
Writer. Okay, next one.
SEO content editor at Workish.
Okay, next one.
Administrative assistant at Oyo State Internal Revenue Service.
Okay. All right. So you want to add more? You have more?
I think that's okay. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so the most recent is actually I've been working as a self-employed. I'm actually thinking of, so I think let me just bring it up here. So I've been thinking of adding that as a work experience, but not necessarily putting it as a self-employed. I don't know if it's possible to say, okay, I worked on that and then put the name of my company, something like that.
First, we have to see the strength of your work experience, really. First, we have to see the strength of your work experience and your achievements before you put anything extra. Remember, for filling the application, you just need at least a minimum of 2 years work experience, which your NYSC, like I said, is 1 year. Your postgrad after your, what's it called, post-graduation employment or volunteer, whatever, right, is 1 year. For example, if you are one of the folks that volunteer with me, and you've been working with me for like 2 years, that's like a good work experience to put. Maybe an M&E manager, a program manager, an admin role, or whatever, right? The key there is not the role title. The key there is what you were able to achieve in 6 months, in 3 months, in that particular role, or what you learned, right? So if you can find a sentence that details 1 key or 2 key things that you achieved in these different roles, right? And you can connect it to what you want to study, right, during your essays, that's also fine. But this is important. You want to have a track record of your employment history detailed, right? So you do not have to focus on, let me put my company. No, there's no emphasis on let me put my company yet, unless you want to talk about what you have done with your company, what you have achieved in your essays, right? So one of the last things I want to show tonight, right, is career plans, right? Career plans. For example, if I have said that I did customer representative, web content writer, SEO content writer, Chevening will want to see the strength of my career plan. What is the strength of my career plan? How am I intending to grow on transit from that particular role to whatever I said I want to achieve in 6 years, achieve in 5 years, right? So now let's say that first, my immediate career plan is to get a master's in business, whatever, business development, right? Short term. What am I going to do after getting a master's in business development and management? Right? Maybe afterwards, I want to become the founder of a service design agency that supports, what's it called? The cloud operations of content writers in Africa, blah, 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 blah. Right. And then afterwards, what other long-term plan can I have? Okay, let's say another long-term plan is I want to train 1,000 content writers in Africa by 26 and create a decentralized community of SEO content writers. Right, what is the ultimate goal for me? Long term, we want to simplify, this is meeting off the top of my head, we want to simplify the process of product marketing in Africa to ensure that products innovated by Africans are world class. Besides solving problems for Africa. Do you get? Now,
Yes, sir.
This is an example of a simple career plan stating from what is immediate to what is long-term and action steps that will be in between. This is what I would now start to think of and embed it within my essays after being able to fill in my employment history. After being able to fill in my employment history, right? And because I have someone on this call who we are doing this together. I don't know if she's still here. I think probably she's dropped off. Okay, probably she's dropped off. I want to ask, do you all understand everything I've been doing so far? Or it's looking like tricks on drama eyes? Feel free to unmute your mic and speak.
The last part is quite confusing. That's the career part they are talking about.
Who is speaking?
Amina.
Great, okay. So what I'm saying, for someone like Esosa, he needs to be able to connect his employment history with his career. And I'm saying, beside writing out his employment history in terms of what he has achieved over the years, right, he should be able to think of what he's going to do, right, with a master's in business development, for instance, right? So I did like a tentative career plan to say, okay, when I get a master's in business development, I want to become the founder of service design agency that's supporting the operations of content writers in Africa. I want to move on to train 1,000 content writers in Africa by 2026. Do you get? So this is me trying to tentatively think through a career plan that will go in line with employment history, so there will be an underlying story. So your employment history feeds into your career plan. your employment history and then the achievements fits into your career plan. There should be an underlining thread, how you narrate your employment history into your career plan. That's what I'm trying to show us tonight. Does it make sense?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Any other questions? Any other questions before we bring tonight to a close?
Okay. I have a question, sir.
Yes, please.
Yes. While I was on campus, I got fascinated with the media space, tech, and tech, but generally tech, but specifically media. And so that was the reason why after I left school, most of the jobs that I sought were along that line in media. But I'm actually putting in for development economics in masters. I'm actually putting in for development economics for my masters. I Okay, when it comes to career plan, based on what you explained, I wouldn't say okay, this is a goal that maybe I have that is in line with studying economics per se. I see economics as a leverage, but I am really, really passionate about media, marketing, building businesses, and stuff like that. So I don't know. Do you have is there a way that one could actually work on this? Since you said there has to be a relationship between your employment history and the career plan itself. But I'm trying to.
Okay, so there's a clause to what I said that there has to be a relationship with your employment history. There has to be a relationship with your achievements, right?
Yes,
With
sir.
what you want to do moving forward. So,
Yes,
like I
sir.
said, Chevening is also a time for you to reevaluate. Are you doing what you want to be doing in the long run, or you want to change? Right? If not, this is also the best time to change it. See, development economics is great. It's fantastic. All right. It's fantastic. But you want to also think, like I said yesterday, we discussed that of the future prospects of that degree, right? The future prospects of that degree and its application with your goal. Chevy may see you as someone who is not serious already or not yet sure what you want to do if you haven't gotten clarity. That's the reason for proper thinking, right? You have to take time to think properly, right? And go deeply into what you eventually want. Why development economics? What are you going to do with it? You can do anything with whatever course you want to do, regardless of what you've been doing previously. That's the genuine truth. You might have been a writer for a copywriter for 10 years, and you eventually decide that you do not just want to write. You want to tell the story of patients living with HIV and AIDS, public health for development. Do you get the point? Anything is possible. That's what I'm trying to let you see.
Okay, sir.
Does it make sense?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, Victory, I see your hand, but before Victory, I think there is a Dorcas. Dorcas, please. Dorcas or Victory, who's going to please unmute their mics and speak if you want to ask a question.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Dorcas.
I'm Dorcas.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask a question as regards my professional, how do I say it, employment history per se. Because I looked at what you were trying to do on your screen, and I want to ask, as regards those of us who have been in one profession for more than a decade, because I saw what you were doing, like you have different work experiences in different fields and in different establishments. What about persons like us? For example, I have a diploma in community health. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
I have a diploma in community health and a degree in public health. And I'm aspiring to get a master's in public health at this point. So my job description has been revolving around a particular sector, either the primary healthcare center or the private hospital. And practically all my work experience will be revolving around same feature, like nothing added. Even if there is something added, it will not be too specific or too, how do I say it? It should not be too pronounced
Yeah, that's fine. So what's your question? Your
because
question
it's like
is,
I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again.
no, it's fine.
So how do I go about writing my job responsibility and making it stand out? Because I noticed that even the second person you use as example, he has a different job. What happens to people like us? That's the question I
Nothing,
want to ask.
nothing bad is happening to people like you guys. In short, people like you have it very good. That's the fact. So the fact is, you've been in comms, right? And in comms, your focus is not on your roles, right? Your focus is on your achievements. You want to focus on your achievements. What are your achievements? What are the lessons you learned from the roles? All right. What are the projects you have worked on? Projects worked on, tasks delivered, results achieved. So you want to think of things in your comms role. These last 10 years, what have you done? How has it featured in your life? What are the results you have gotten? This is practically important when you want to write your essay. You can fill in all the responsibilities of how long you've been working. So you can put one role. See, this place, in this particular place, you can put one employer. You have been with one employer for 10 years, right? And you've been doing communications, you've been writing articles, doing pamphlet, working in a hospital, but there is a language for communicating what you've been doing for a long time, right? You want to communicate it properly, right? You want to communicate it properly. There's nothing wrong with having one job experience, all right? I don't know if that answers the question, Madam Dorcas.
Partially, let me let it slide. Let me think about
See,
what
let
you
me
just
let
said.
you say. It doesn't, you see, you don't
Yes,
have to have
yes. Let me
something
not stop others
shiny.
from asking.
No wahala, no problem. Victory, I see you have your hand raised. Victory, please. Victory, I can't hear if you're speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
You anymore, Victory? I think Victory is having network issues. Okay, I think we can drop our questions on the WhatsApp. I see your question, Frances. You have 2 years 2 years teaching experience, and your career goal is geared towards public health. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I'm going to try and answer the question as well. Let's see. Aminat, you can speak. Aminat, Zainab, Rahima. Quickly, let's quickly hear every one of you speak, and let me respond to everything together.
Okay.
Aminat, yeah, speak.
My question is, so when do you list your work experience like the way you have it on your CV, or you make it like an essay?
Okay. Whichever format is easier for you to do is fine. You can list it or you can make it like an essay, right? But me, I would prefer that you list it while you're making it an essay, right? You can say number one, I did this, that, right? From so and so time in so and so place, and I achieved this, that. Do you get?
Yeah.
So the template you should use is the one on your screen: employment type, role, achievements, duration, right? Do you get?
Yes.
Rahima, your question.
So
Okay.
what about us that don't really have much job experience?
There's nothing wrong with you guys. I don't know why you guys feel like there's something wrong with you if you don't have much job experience.
Oh, no, like the only experience I have experience before, like while I was working while studying, I worked with a POS, with a mobile banking company. I studied accounting and finance, so I
Okay.
had that finance this
How
thing
many years
before.
work experience do you have right now?
Like in total, plus when I was in school.
After school?
Okay, after school is just 2 years because I finished NYC last year, October.
Okay, so last year October to this time is already 2 years. So you're going to take your NYC experience and take the last 1 year experience, and you'll be good.
Okay. Thank you.
Zainab.
As for me, my question is, I actually want to know, is Chevening looking at background of your study, or it's looking at experience? I actually studied civil engineering, and I found myself in the power sector, practicing energy management for 6 years. So I don't know, does it matter?
So what do you want to do now?
I want to study energy engineering.
It's good. It's all connected, right? That's perfect.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So the beauty of it is you have experience. At least you have 2 years of experience, whether it's paid or unpaid, a volunteer role. That's all that Chevening wants, right? And that what you have done has a connection with what you intend to do, or even if it
Yes.
doesn't have, what you want to study, right, has a connection with what you intend to do. So
Yes.
Chevening is not that. I think that's the focus. So
Okay.
just to reiterate, track your employment
Okay.
history. What has your achievement
Okay.
been? What are the projects, the tasks, the lessons, the results you've achieved been so far? These things are important
Okay.
in both the essay question and in both your employment history. Do you get?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So we would, okay, Pauline, that's the last question I will take. Pauline, quickly.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Martins.
Hi.
Okay, I just want to know if my work experience also falls in line the way people are asking. Like, I work in a food service restaurant, like dealing with food services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going for public health related course, so I don't really know if it will fall in line as well.
That's so interesting a question, right? Food services. There's something called public health nutrition.
Okay.
Right? So you want to think about that.
That one, right? Okay.
Great.
That's good. All right, thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for your time. We want to bring this session to a close right now. What we want you to do is take the next 2 days, track your employment history, your achievements, your duration. Please populate them in a sheet like this. All right. I think I'm just going to let me shift this out of this place and put them somewhere else. All right. Okay. So I will share this with Osato. She's going to share it with you guys. You're going to use it to populate your employment history. And then please do that and start to write your essays or fill out the application forms and get ready for all the activities that we have lined up for this week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining, and then thank you for listening. Invite your friends, ensure that you put your best into thinking clearly about your career goal, your employment history, your achievement, and write out what you've been able to do. What are the results you have achieved? It doesn't have to be so big, but it has to be meaningful. It is not the size, how big or how small, it is how meaningful it has been. Okay? Thank you all so much. And good night.